Let's wait one more minute.
Excuse me.
Okay, and it's 12:30. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Chiara, and I'm here with Beth DiPalma. Hi, Beth.
Hi.
So, Beth has over a decade of medical device experience. She has a Master of Education in Clinical and Mental Health Counseling, 700 hours of clinical counseling during master's program. She's certified in FEMA emergency management. She's working in non-invasive neuromodulation for the past 5 years, experience in mental health, addiction, and migraine. Med device field trainer, board member for Something for Kelly, clinical consultant for 4 years, teaching facilities and offices how to build patients programs. And she has an very furry sidekick named Stella. So yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to you. And
Thanks, Kiara. So we're so thankful that you guys chose to join us today. We wanted to start off just a little bit with who is CEFALY. So many of you are familiar with our migraine device. We make a non-drug, non-invasive medical device for migraine. And we are super excited because we not only have the ability to treat preventatively, but also acute migraine. And we use external trigeminal nerve stimulation to do so. And it is a fantastic system. But the real big thing, and I don't usually read off slide decks word for word, but at the bottom of this bullet point, it says, we believe that every person living with this debilitating condition deserves to feel better through effective drug-free migraine treatment. And, you know, one of the big things for CEFALY is we want you to know that we see you. Living with migraine is not a small feat. We know that it impacts your daily life. We know it impacts your relationships. It's a huge deal. So we want you to know that you inspire us. You inspire us to create awesome technology. You inspire us to advocate, and you inspire us to work hard every day to make life better for you. So thank you so, so much for joining us. All right, so let's jump into, so why does migraine often get worse in college? So if we took migraine off the table for a minute, college is a huge transition, right? If we took, you know, a string and we put dots on it and it had every like cool and important part of our lives, college is a huge dot on a lot of people's journey, okay? So it's a new environment. A lot of people are leaving home for the first time, away from family, new schedules, a new autonomy that maybe we didn't have before. There's just so much change. You're kind of becoming an adult, right? This is your time to walk into the world and kind of, you have that safety net of family and friends, but you are kind of in the driver's seat. So when we add migraine on top of it, it can be an even bigger transition. So we have new diets and irregular meal times. Your parents aren't there anymore. And some of you are like, yes. But at the same time, while our parents, you know, maybe tough, especially when we're at the end of high school, we're ready to go somewhere, you know, they do provide a lot of really amazing support, right? They help us with our routines. They help us make sure we're getting our meals on time. Alcohol and caffeine are also big triggers. People tend to drink more caffeine, right? We're studying a little bit later. We're staying up. It's a social thing. Alcohol and caffeine tend to be social things. We want to have a cup of coffee or a drink with somebody. And so it also keeps us out late. We're also spending a lot more time in front of the computer. Most colleges actually don't use books anymore. They're using online books. So we're spending a lot of time reading, doing papers. And then there's a lot of environmental triggers, right? You might be living with somebody for the first time with roommates. You may be in a loud dorm, you're used to quiet. You can't control really the smells that are going on and the people around you in class. And then you just have stress, right? We're in a new environment, we're trying to do new things, and there's just a lot of things coming at us at once. So all those things combined can really trigger our migraines. So the way migraine impacts us in school is really two ways. So we have a personal impact and we have an academic impact, right? So there's a lot of going and doing in college. And a lot of us know when we're suffering from migraine, that's just not an option in that moment, right? And so sometimes we may miss out on that study group. We may miss out on that fun movie out. We may miss out on that party that we were hoping to go to. And it can make us feel a little left out. Also feeling pressured to participate in activities, right? So we want to be part of stuff, but we know at the end of the day that might trigger our migraine, or staying out late, or having a sip of that drink, or having that extra cup of coffee. We want to do those things, but at the same time, we know they're not really good for our migraine routine. But it's this catch-22, right? Like we want to be part of something, but we also want to do what works for our bodies. And things are difficult, right? College just in general is difficult. You got new schedules, you got new classes, and having a migraine on top of it just makes it that much harder. And that can be really disheartening and frustrating, right? Because you're trying to embody all these new things and you're trying to treat your migraine, understand if there are new triggers, and it's a lot going on at one time. And then there's also going to be people that don't understand migraine, okay? There are always those people that say, hey, it's just a headache. I don't know why you have to be in bed with the blinds shut. You're being overly dramatic. Well, you're really not. We have to approach migraine in the best way that works for us, where we can manage our triggers, where we can feel healthy, where we put ourselves in a position of being able to feel better. And not everybody is going to understand that, right? So there's a lot that goes on just personally about being able to walk through college and manage all the things that go with migraine. The other aspect of this is academic. So sometimes you're going to have to miss class. There are days where you just can't get out of bed. That sun is hurting your eyes. You've got pain everywhere. You just can't move, and it affects your ability to go to class. It also may affect your ability to struggle with tests. A lot of people that have to fill in those Scantron dots, that can be very taxing for our eyes and our migraine to be able to fill those out. Sometimes our migraine keeps us down a couple of days. So maybe we can't finish assignments on time, and that's very stressful. And like really having our professors understand what migraine is, how it affects our ability to do our work, and how it affects our ability to really learn in class. So there's a lot of extra stressors on top of just going to college that come from actually having migraine. So let's talk about, so now that we know that there's just a lot of extra stuff when we walk into a new journey, let's talk about some ways that we can mitigate this, right? What can we do to help ourselves manage migraine as we're starting this new journey? So, excuse me, y'all. The first is to contact your school's disability support services, okay? So for some of you, middle school and high school offered what's called a 504 plan. And that was an accommodation plan that was built with your school and your teachers. And it's something that's put together and reviewed yearly. Well, once you go to college, that plan doesn't travel with you, okay? So the difference is while a college or a university is responsible through the Disabilities Act for providing accommodations, you kind of have to take the journey on your own. So you have to start the journey. So the first part of this journey is contacting disability support services. Almost every school has a disability support services, and migraine does qualify. So you want to provide documentation from your physician on your migraine diagnosis, and you want to call up and see what is it that you need to do to start the process. Every university is going to have a process that's a little different. So we want to make sure that we know what the process is, we have the right paperwork, and we can move forward into getting accommodations, okay? So the second is we need to formally request our accommodations. The second thing that's different from our 504 that we may have had when we were middle school and high school is that accommodations were pretty standard, right? You had your accommodations throughout the whole year, they were reviewed, and then you made accommodations for next year. Because college is so different and you have different professors, different teachers, different schedules, this is something you're probably going to have to do each quarter or semester based on the program you're in, okay? And disability services can help you. So you can ask for extended time on tests, assignment deadlines, more flexibility, in-person attendance, and disability services will help you with this. And also meeting with your professor before class. This will also give them an insight to what we're working with, like that you may have to miss days of school, you may need extra time. And this lets them know that you're invested in your class time, but you're also invested in working together to make sure that both of you can get the most out of this class that you're in, okay? The next thing is don't push yourself too hard. College is a wonderful experience, but the first semester or quarter, you are not in it to win it, okay? I know it seems like you should be, but at the end of the day, the first quarter or the first semester, based on what program you're doing a lot of stuff, right? You're getting used to possibly having a roommate. You're getting used to living alone. You're getting used to managing your class schedule. You know, your whole routine is totally different, okay? You're not getting up, your mom's not waking you up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to school. You may not have class till 11. You know, you may have late night classes. They may be labs or maybe study groups, okay? Like understanding that we have to be creating our own routine that works for us is really important. Sometimes it's okay to have a lighter load that first quarter or semester that you're in school so that you can learn how to navigate your new life. I mean, think about it. Like you're creating your own meals now, you're feeding yourself. And some of you may have been doing that before. You're doing your own laundry, you're managing new friendships, you're managing new roommates. All professors have different styles of teaching. Sometimes you're going to be in class, sometimes you're going to be online. And everybody's different. Some people learn better being in class and being there. Some people do much better with online courses. You're finding your groove, you're finding your speed. And we're also respecting your migraine in the process. So we're going to learn our schedule. We're going to see where our triggers are. We're going to understand a little bit more how to create our new routine in college. And so what this means is you may have to drop a class at the beginning if it's too much for you. You may have to really take into consideration what you're able to do in terms of schoolwork and build your class schedule around it, okay? And there's no shame in that. Knowing your limits is very adult. Knowing your boundaries and your limits with people, places, and things are always going to benefit you in the long run. It's also important to take time off and rest, okay? The first semester or the first year of college, you want to do everything. And you know what? You just can't. And that's okay. You know, it's okay if you don't go to that party. It's okay if you don't go to that study group. It's okay, you know, if you don't go to that football game. And let me tell you, I came from a big football school. And sometimes while everybody else is at the football game, it's okay for you to stay home, take a nap. It really is. You know, you've got to know you and you've got to be in tune with you. And so resting and relaxing and knowing that if I take this time for myself, I can do XYZ thing later on, so much better. And it's not a race. Now, granted, there's a lot of people that want to get it done in 4 years. What's important is you're doing it right. You're getting the grades that you need to, and you're doing it in a way that suits you. I'm not saying by any means to just roll, but I'm saying like there's a lot of things going on in life and college, especially when you're a young person. And it's really important to know your limits, know your boundaries, know how you work best, challenge yourself in the right ways, and know when you need to back off. Okay. So the other big thing is learning to advocate for yourself. So many times people aren't gonna, like we talked about earlier, they're not gonna really understand your migraine. So having like a little, excuse me, 2 second spiel on like what it is and like how it's different and affects you is not necessarily a bad thing. It's interesting. You would be surprised. I travel a lot. I work in a lot of VAs and I do a lot of commercial work with our marketing team. And I'll be just having lunch and somebody will casually ask me what I do. And you would be so surprised how many people experience migraine. It is not, you are not a lone wolf here. More people experience migraine than you think. And a lot of times you'll start having the chat about your migraine, the symptoms, and somebody will look over and say, oh my gosh, like that sounds very familiar. I've had that. And you actually find a foundation with somebody else because they either have migraine and they haven't shared it with anybody, or they might be experiencing migraine and don't even know it. So you are not a lone wolf here. Many times the conversation will spur either someone who has migraine, someone that they know that has migraine, and then it's great because you find a foundation. Okay. The other thing is like advocating for each other is so important. When you experience something, advocating for yourself and for others is huge because it brings awareness. That's why we at CEFALY do webinars like this. We want to bring awareness. We want to have people have better understandings of what is migraine? How does it work? How does it affect me? Because, everybody is a little bit different. Their most bothersome symptom, somebody's maybe really, they don't like the big light in their eyes. Somebody might be sensitive to the touch. Somebody may be nauseous most of the time. And you wouldn't even think that nausea would be a primary migraine symptom, but it is. So it looks different for everybody. So like understanding what migraine looks like for you, for your friends, for others, and bringing awareness, because the more people, your friends, your professors know about your migraine, the better that they can learn from you, they can understand you, they can accommodate your needs, they can support you. So it is okay to share your migraine journey with others, because the more we share and the more we teach people, the more knowledge we share and the more knowledgeable people are. And like we said, boundaries are super important. And let me say, college is a very hard place to establish boundaries, right? Very. There's so many temptations. There's so many things you want to do. You don't want to be that person that misses out on stuff. And it is really, really hard to say no sometimes. I am a serial overcommitter. I overcommit to everything, and I'm 43 years old. It doesn't get better. But knowing your boundaries is important, and building that skill as a young person is huge. Like, it is okay to say no. Most of the time you don't really have too many regrets from saying no to something, because saying no is going to keep you away from that trigger. Saying no is going to help you get better sleep. Saying no is going to help you study for that exam. It is okay to say no, and the confidence in which you say no is a gift. It's a skill you will use forever. People respect it. They may not always like it, but they will respect it. Also, saying no doesn't have to be mean, right? I think there's this thought that saying no always has a negative connotation. You can say no in a super nice way. You can thank somebody for the invite, and you say, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to come today, right? So there are beautiful, graceful ways to say no. You're not the no person, but you're also that person looking out for your health and well-being. So expanding our migraine toolkit, excuse me, is also important. So I used to work in psych, and we used to call feeling good our secret sauce. So the secret sauce is made up of all those things that are specific to you that combined make you feel your best. And it's different for everybody, right? And so, but some really important parts of the secret sauce are stress management techniques. So when you feel really stressed out, what do you do? How do you cope? Do you breathe? Do you take a minute? Do you read a book? Do you go for a walk? What does that look like for you? And you know what? Sometimes you're going to have to try and do a couple of these different things until you find the right one that works for you. Your diet is also super important. I mean, I know that's not anything anybody wants to hear. When I went to college, I wanted to eat pizza every night, and I had heartburn every single day, and that did not go well. You want to eat the fun things. You want to go to the fun dinners. You want to eat ice cream and study. You totally do. It's college. But unfortunately, we also have to hear our bodies, right? And if there are certain things in your diet that you know that trigger your migraine, you want to be very mindful of them. And I'm not saying miss out on everything. Moderation is key. So if you know how much coffee you can have, if you know you're a 1 cup of coffee kind of person, that's okay. Do your 1 cup of coffee, but really listen to your body. Your body is the coolest thing you'll ever have. That's why neuromodulation works so well, is we use our body's own ability to really help heal itself. And your body is a temple, and it is the coolest thing you will ever own. And it will tell you what it needs, and it will tell you how it feels. And being intuitive with your diet, being intuitive with how you feel, being intuitive of what works for you and what doesn't make you feel good is really important. Also use migraine diaries. So we happen to have a migraine diary on our app for our device called CC. It tracks like the duration of your migraine. It tracks the medicine that you took that day, any interventions like yoga, if you chose to do Botox, whatever it is. Because the idea is when you use a migraine diary, you can really like look for patterns of what makes you feel good. Look for patterns about what makes you feel stinky. The idea is the more insight that we can get to ourselves and what we need, the better we're going to feel. And then also managing your treatment, right? So most everybody that we talk with migraine, has migraine. So you've got the acute part of your migraine. So understanding when it's coming, if any of you get aura, that's a good time to, do an acute treatment if you're using a CEFALY. And daily preventative treatment, right? What can we do to really kind of keep those triggers at bay and build our migraine threshold? Okay. So a lot of the things that we do are up to us. We can't always control our migraines, but we can manage our triggers pretty well. But it's all about listening to ourselves and expanding, like, what are the tools that I can use to make myself feel better? And the last thing is your mental health, right? Your mental health is so important. You are so precious. You are so precious. And keeping your mental health in check is important. It makes us feel good. It helps us excel at things. It helps us from feeling overwhelmed. So while you're going through college, while you're adjusting to everything, like keep in mind other things. Because with migraine, anxiety and depression tend to be comorbidities, right? So check in with yourself. Like a lot of this is like, how do I feel? What do I need? Are you oversleeping or not sleeping? Are you eating? Are you worrying more about normal? Is the stress of being in a new place stressing you out? Are you more irritable than usual? Are you not enjoying things that you used to do, right? Keeping tabs on yourself is super important, because you may be also, if you feel disconnected because you got to stay in most of the time, and you might feel a need for like clarity, or you might need to feel a need for like support, and if you feel that, your mood is kind of coming down from that, like, let's do things that make it better. Let's reach out to some friends. Let's call our family. Let's see if we can manage to do some things on a day that we're feeling really good. Also, if you're finding that your worry is not balancing out with what you're worried about, that might be a clue that maybe you're experiencing some anxiety, right? And there are things that we can do to really counteract that anxiety. We can use some coping mechanisms. We can talk to people. Most campuses have a campus healthcare group that is there to help you with anything that you need and people to talk with. Because like I said, this is a huge change, and you're experiencing lots of things. You're experiencing migraine in the throes of a whole new environment, and your mental health is so important. So really keeping tabs on how you're feeling is so very, very, very important. Okay, so that kind of covers just the high level overview of, just being mindful, be taking care of yourself, giving yourself grace, because you are experiencing something totally new. And so we just want you to know that we have tools, we're excited, we're here to help. I know that we've got some questions. So Kiara, would you be kind enough to share some of those with us?
Of course. One of them is, any other tips or tricks on how to keep up with classes?
Yeah. So I actually have a friend, and she suffers from migraine. We went to college together. It's funny. We were talking about this webinar over the weekend. And she said that what she would do is she would create a study group in her classes. So she would get one or two people that she enjoyed being around in class, and she would have them take notes. So they would each take notes at school. And so if there was ever a time that she missed class, she knew that she had someone that she knew and trusted in class to share notes with her and kind of give her a recap of what went on in class, anything that she needed to know about the assignment. Also, she was very open with her professors about sharing that she had migraine, kind of sharing like what her boundaries were and her limits and how she worked best. And she was lucky enough to have some professors that really worked with her.
Another question is, what does CEFALY feel like?
So CEFALY uses external trigeminal nerve stimulation, okay? So you have a nerve that runs kind of like up here behind your eye, behind your nose, and kind of like behind your teeth. And we use a hydrated electrode and we put our device on there, and our device stimulates that trigeminal nerve. So your trigeminal nerve is your sensory nerve, right? That nerve is what's sending the pain signals up to the brain when you have a migraine. So what we want to do is we want to stimulate that nerve at a certain spot where it kind of feels like your foot fell asleep. So if you've ever had your foot fall asleep, you know how it feels kind of tingly and numb. We definitely want that kind of feeling, except on your forehead, right? Cephaly should never be painful. If cephaly is painful, then we've gone up too far in our stimulation and we've engaged more pain nerves. And sometimes you'll see people twitch, and that means we've probably engaged some motor fiber nerves as well. So what we want to do is we want to keep the stimulation to the trigeminal nerve in that sensory area, and we want it to feel, somebody said it's almost like when cats need on the couch or on you, it kind of feels like a little massage, but kind of tingly and nice. It should never be painful.
Thank you, Beth. Another question is there any help I can get to help me start using my CEFALY?
Yeah, totally. So we have a program and it's called CEFALY Coach. And CEFALY Coach, you can either go to our website and go to Getting Started, and there's a CEFALY Coach in the list, in the drop-down list. You can click there and you can make a one-on-one appointment with one of our coaches, or you can call our customer service number. And CEFALY Coach is great. Our customer service group will walk you through how to download our app if you're interested in using the migraine diary and tracking your treatments. They can troubleshoot the system with you. They can walk through all the pieces with you. They're really there to help you be successful. Any questions that you have, they're more than happy to answer, because the goal is, when you get a new device, it can be kind of intimidating, and we don't want you to be intimidated. We want you to be stoked that you're getting this cool device, and we want you to be comfortable with how to use it, how it works, what to expect. And our CEFALY Coach does a really nice job with that.
We have a question about the sweet spot. Should we continue to the maximum percentage for the prevention treatment?
So here it's interesting. So way back in the day, when CEFALY first started, a lot of our clinical studies and a lot of our direction was to go up to that 100%. Okay. As we've kind of done some research, we realized that the intensity is not as important as the duration. So it is much better to let the intensity ride up. So for those of you that may not have a CEFALY, in the first 14 minutes of treatment, the CEFALY will slowly ramp up, and it ramps up to 16 milliamps in 14 minutes. And it looks like percentages. So on the app, it'll say it will be 1 to 100%. And you can slowly watch it kind of ramp up. And in the past, it was encouraged that you should go all the way up to the main intensity, and that was your sweet spot. Now it seems like the better thing to do is to go up to where you feel that kind of tingly sensation, tingly numb, but it still feels nice, and go ahead and stabilize your treatment there, because it is much more important that you find that place that you feel good with and you do the whole treatment, rather than trying to go up to the highest level and it's painful, because treatment should never be painful. The goal of treatment is to activate that sensory bundle. So when we do neuromodulation and we're exciting that nerve, those nerve fibers, we want to excite them to a place where we feel it and it's comfortable. If we get to a place where it's uncomfortable, then we're overstimulating that nerve. And when we do nerve stimulation, more is not always better. Just because you go to the highest one doesn't mean you're getting better treatment. You want to get to that place that you feel comfortable and let it ride and do the treatment time that you need to do, whether it's prevent or acute.
Let's answer one last question. Can I sleep while using my CEFALY?
So you should not sleep while using CEFALY. Now, let me give you a background on this. CEFALY actually has timed treatment sessions. So the acute treatment is a timed 60-minute session. The prevent is actually a timed 20-minute session. So they will turn off when they are finished. We do not want you sleeping in it, because if you should roll over and it presses that button again, then it'll start as a session and you may not be awake to monitor the rising of the stimulation, and that could be very unpleasant. So we ask you to please stay awake. It's okay to be relaxed. It's okay to lay back, but we do not want you to fall asleep in it, because we want you to be able to take it off, put it back. We want you to be able, when you're doing treatment, it's important to be awake enough to manage it. And so we want you to be mindful of that, because one of the side effects of CEFALY is a sedentary effect. You feel a little drowsy. And so you want to make sure you're sitting up, you are laying back, but in a reclined position if you think you might doze a little bit, but we do not encourage you to sleep in it. All right, Kiara, I believe we have a winner of a webinar. Is that right?
We do. So our today's webinar winner is I hope I pronounced this name right. If I don't, I apologize. Maria Lysandru. So Maria, we see you're here. Congratulations. You're the winner of our giveaway.
Congratulations. So thank you guys so much for being with us today. We're so thankful you're here. We're always want you to know we're on this journey with you. Stay tuned for tomorrow. We would love for you to join us. The second webinar in our series is with Dr. Nat Bonnie, and I've had the pleasure of meeting her, and she is fantastic. She's super knowledgeable. She's very in tune with migraine, and I think you would really enjoy spending time with her tomorrow morning. And then if you have any additional questions, I know we didn't get to catch everybody's, please feel free to reach out to us via social media. You can email us, you can call up to customer service if you have any questions. Our social media is right here down on the bottom. But we love you guys. We're here for you, and anything you need, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice day.